Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. As loved ones of first responders and military personnel, we often face life situations and challenges that many others don't experience. And while each of us and our experiences are unique, together we can learn from one another and become stronger in this journey of life. Now let's step out of mediocrity. It's time to thrive. Hi guys, welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. We have a very special interview today. It's another first on the podcast. We have Andrea Adkins, and she is a former military child. So welcome to the show, Andrea.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So Andrea's father was an armament warrant officer, 3rd class in the Ohio National Guard, and was away on duty in Alabama when he died. And so Andrea now is the founder of reporttobase.com, which is her way of thanking all the soldiers that were there for him and her family during their adventure in the military. So reporttobase.com is an online resource for military personnel and their families during a PCS. And we will talk about more about that later, because it's a great resource for all of the military listeners out there. But I'm very excited to hear Andrea's story. I know I'm a military spouse and I have military children and I want to do best by them, but I don't have their experience. So I'm excited to hear your point of view. So Andrea, can you kind of tell us what your family situation was growing up?
Sure. My father joined the Guard when he was 18. So he was already in and had a couple years by the time my twin sister and I were born. And we're the oldest. Something I remember vividly from my childhood is watching him get ready, just shining his boots and ironing his uniform. He was huge about the starch and just about it being, just right. He was really proud of wearing that uniform. And so that's something I can close my eyes and almost, be back in the kitchen watching him do those kind of things. And he shared stories with us from time to time, what he was able to tell us. His unit they had to disassemble, move, and assemble anything that shot. So anything from a pistol to a tank. And so there were different stories about, things that they had done, things that were going on in the unit and stuff like that. And every year they also had like a family day. So I remember going over and just, it was really neat to kind of sit back and watch how my dad interacted with his men and how they responded to him. It's something I still, take away from today. Just the way that he led. It was always about his men and never about him. Mm-hmm. So it's really neat perspectives and lessons he taught me without, I think, him even realizing he taught me. So, yeah. But
so he was in, and how long was he in? Was he in your whole?
His whole, well, okay. So from the time he was 18 until he passed away at 44.
Okay. Well, that is a long time to be in.
I think he'd still be doing something as far as goes if he was still alive. Yeah, he loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. So when we've been talking before, you said that he was deployed multiple times. So since you were in the Guard, you didn't have the moving all the time, but you had plenty of deployments. Can you tell us about those? How old were you throughout those deployments, and what were those expected?
He would go somewhere every year when I was younger, and then it seemed to be a little bit more often. I was just 23 when he passed away, and my youngest brother was 13. So that's all we really knew growing up, was that, every so often Dad was gone for, it just depended. Sometimes it was just a quick 2 weeks. Sometimes it was months. So it just depended on where he was going and what he was doing. The last time he deployed, he was actually in charge of everything going on there at the base, including a night range fire and things like that. So as the years went on and he advanced in rank, obviously he also had more responsibility. But so I just know my mom would do a great job just kind of holding everything together, and we'd always make sure that we were corresponding with Dad, and even though he wasn't there physically at the house, he was still always with us. And if we needed something, we still had a way to reach him. So, but my dad was part of a really big Italian family, and so there's always probably more family around than we wanted. But it helped, having those extra people beyond just my mom and dad and my siblings. It helped make things a little bit easier if there was an emergency or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So what ways did you said your mom was really good at keeping the communication open between you guys as a family and him. How did she do that? Because especially back then, now we have FaceTime and emails and all that kind of stuff. How did she do that to make you guys still feel connected with him?
We actually had probably more phone calls than most people had. My mom and dad were really close, and so they'd talk a lot, and then of course she'd relay different things back to us that Dad would say, and we'd get a chance to talk to him every once in a while. And I even remember just back then you actually wrote letters, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember doing that every once in a while if he was gone a little bit longer. But we had a picture of Dad in his uniform on the refrigerator, so you couldn't walk into the kitchen without seeing it. So it always felt like he was there. And even to this day, I'd say we talk about my dad just all the time. Just it's just he impacted more lives than he realized at the time, I think. And so we'd be sitting down to dinner, and we'd be talking about just what we were doing, and then Mom would be talking about things that my dad had told her he was up to, while he was gone and stuff. And so she just kind of was his voice, I guess.
Okay.
So it helped for us not to feel like, he was gone all the time and he just wasn't part of our lives.
Okay. I like that. I am going to print off a picture of my husband now and put it on the fridge because he's currently deployed. And I'm really excited for this because I want my kids to still feel close, but I hadn't thought of putting his picture up. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really easy way to keep his presence.
Well, think about it. We were always at the fridge.
Yeah. Are you kidding? My kids it's summertime and they're young. And so they are constantly trying to get in the fridge. If I put one on the fridge and one on the pantry, then they will see him 20 times a day. They won't have time to miss him. So some other questions I have actually were taken from the listeners. I was able to put a poll out on Instagram. And just for people who wanted questions for somebody who was a military child. So the first one was, what kind of effect did having a dad who was deployed have on you?
A very strong respect for our service members and our country, and a really big devotion to our country. It was extremely important to my dad to serve. And now I'm a part-time mounted police officer, and I can't put on my uniform without thinking about him. So just a strong sense of country, and even though he was gone, it wasn't like it was because he didn't want to be with us. That wasn't it. That was never it. It was because he loved this country so much that he needed to find a way to give back to that, our country. Mm-hmm. It was never a choice between us and him serving. It was just who he was and what he needed to do. And actually it helped all of us truly be thankful for living in this country.
Mm-hmm. And now, was that are those feelings just something that you gathered from just experiencing it all with your family, or was that something that your dad was constantly vocalizing?
Oh, he vocalized it a lot. too. You know, and it was his actions. Like I said, you know, him taking so much time to make sure his uniform was perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like I said, when we'd be around him and his unit and the way he treated them, or the stories that he would tell about his men. And just, you know, if we were somewhere and the national anthem was playing or something, it was all those little things that there was no doubt how much he loved this country, you know, and thankful for being able to serve. So.
Awesome. Next question. How do you think we as mothers can teach resiliency to our children?
Okay. Yeah. You know, most of the time we're stronger than we think we are. And so, you know, for me, it was letting me do some things on my own that I wasn't quite sure of, whether I could handle it or not. But, you know, always hearing from my dad that, you know, I could do it. I could handle it. I was strong enough. And, you know, my father didn't come into the house or leave the house without walking straight up to my mom and giving her a kiss and telling her he loved her. And he didn't walk in or walk out without telling us kids the same thing. He was really good about that. And something I'm still working on with my own husband of almost 25 years. But I mean, so we always knew that if we needed him, he was there. But he always kind of pushed us to try it on our own. Like, for instance, my twin sister and I were 10 when my grandfather started buying horses, would walk us out to the barn, hand the horse to us and say, let me know when it's broke. And he would walk into the house. Yes. So I would never think about doing that with my 10-year-old. It's interesting because the things that I did growing up, I'm like, wow. But I have to stop and step back sometimes because now I'm a mom of 4, right? Mm-hmm. All those things my dad taught me and my parents taught me. And I think sometimes we're so worried about protecting the kids that we don't let them see how strong they really are.
I love that. That's such a good point. And I feel like I'm more on your side where I want my kids to be independent. I want them to do the things for themselves. I don't want to send a kid to college who doesn't know how to do their own laundry or cook or just the simple things. But also I don't want a kid to go off to college and crumble emotionally without me. Mm-hmm. But then like, that's always been my philosophy. And as I was a younger mom, like brand new babies, I was like, yeah, that's going to be me. But now I have my oldest just went through kindergarten, and there were some days where her feelings would get hurt or different hard things would happen. And I found myself like the instinct is just to protect my kid.
And fix, right? And fix
yeah. But it took, luckily I have my husband is more, I don't even know how to describe him right, but he was able to be a little bit wiser and rein me back and say, let her fix this and guide her through it, but don't do it for her. So I like that reminder a lot. Another question is, what is one positive and one negative thing that you have from growing up as a military child?
One positive is my father was the best example of what a good leader should be. Most definitely. Time and time, I mean, just so many different things that he did throughout his military career. And I've said it before, his men, I think, would have followed him to hell and back. Mm-hmm. And so I've used that in my professional career, just, wanting to live up to that example that he set. And a negative, just, I guess, every once in a while, him missing an important event, whether that be a sporting event that I had going on, or I started contesting with my horse when I was like 13. So he didn't get to make it to many of my races. But now I can look at, back then, I kind of looked at it like, Dad's not here again. Mm-hmm. Now I can, as an adult, I can look at it like, he wasn't there physically, but he was always there. And it wasn't because I was less important. It was just, that's who he was, and he needed to do that. And because of men like him, we live in this country, because there's no other country I'd rather live in.
I agree with you on that. Do you feel like you got enough attention with him being gone and your mom having other kids and all that kind of stuff? Because I know, I had a hard time. I was one of 8, but my dad was in the military, so it's with him being gone. Did you long for that, or did they have other ways of compensating for his absence?
I guess I never thought that I wasn't getting enough attention. I really got into the horses, and so I was happy as could be to jump on my horse and be gone all day, right? Which we used to do. We'd be gone, pre-cell phone too, or horse helmets. Yeah. So they never knew where we were. But when my dad was home, it was all about family. So, he made up for it. And yeah, so my dad was one of 8. Mm-hmm. So every Sunday was at Nana and Papa's for pasta after church. It took a while to walk around and tell everybody hello and give everyone kisses when you walked in. But so that's where that all came from. And that was that strong family. And so when he wasn't there, I still had Nana and Papa. I had my mom. I had all my aunts and uncles. And a lot of them live on our road. So, and a very large extended family. So, he left us in good hands. And like I said, when he was home, he made up for that.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It's making me think I need to make sure my kids have a hobby so that they are not just sitting around, like something that they love. Because I'm sure that was just a big comfort that you could go out and ride your horse. And
oh, we had a blast. It was the best.
I've always wanted a horse, and now I'm just like, okay, I want to gallop. I can't imagine what that feels like, but
I used to race bareback. So,
oh, wow.
And then I sold my horse when I went to college and just got Pirate a few years ago. And so it was coming back at a much older age, less balance, all that. And I'm like, okay, so how well can I do this? And somehow we have the only non-flat property in the area. Like there's no flat. We have this major hill that is a killer. And so I jumped on my horse one day bareback, and I thought, can I still run and do this? And sure enough, I run all over our hills and everything still. So it keeps me in good shape.
I bet. So tell me more about reporttobase.com. I mentioned before that it's an online resource for military personnel and their families during the PCS, but what does it all encompass?
Wow. Okay. So my background was marketing and web design. And throughout the years, I've been just trying to find a way to say thank you, because that week that my father passed away is a huge blur, except still to this day, and he died in 1992, I can still close my eyes and I'm back at the funeral home and just seeing that changing of the guard, or being in the church and looking to the left, because our church had 3 sections, and I'd look to the left and it was nothing but military personnel. And then we went to the cemetery and it was a major thunderstorm that August morning. And of course we're under the tent, and I look out and there they all are. It didn't matter that it was storming. They were there. And so I've always been trying to find a way to let them know, how much that meant to us. And so I started talking to some other family members that are still in, and some friends. and found out that a lot of times you're supposed to get a lot of information for your PCS, but it doesn't always happen. Or you spend so much time Googling all these different places to get what you need. And I thought, well, this is something I can do. So last August, coincidentally, on the anniversary of my father's death, I decided that I was going to try and put together an online resource. And so I started researching, and up till about November, I was doing it all by myself when I realized that it was going to take me forever. So I brought on some interns, and we started working on it. And so you can go to any base, and we actually have all the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, the intelligence bases, the joint bases, and we think we have them all. Some of them are harder to find, but we think we have them all. And we're almost done with all of them. All the last, we're finishing up on the Coast Guard and the Air Force, but everything else is done. And if you go there, you're going to find information about the base, the area around it, just the population, where to go when you first get there. There's information about like cost of living and the climate, because to me, I was like, well, if I'm going somewhere else, I want to know what it's like compared to where I am. Information about what there is to do for the family around there. There's an entire resource page that offers the most important phone numbers for the base, information on healthcare, schools. So if you wanted to get a jump start on reaching out to the schools and checking out which schools you might want to put the kids in once you get there, information even for college classes for the spouse or the military person themselves. And then there's a housing page that we put together. It talks about on-base housing, off-base housing. Anyone can submit information about the neighborhoods. So if you want to help future families coming in, you can send us, there's a place to submit info about the neighborhood, and you can help them. And then we just work with 4 realtors, lenders, and home inspectors that I'd say about 80% of them are actually veterans or spouses. So they have that military background, plus they have the knowledge to help if someone wants to do something, purchase a home, or if someone has to sell their home because they're moving out. But we did just a few, and we're just really trying to provide as many resources in one place so you can go there and get it all. 2 of our base coordinators is what we call everyone, are military spouses, career military spouses, and they helped me put together a PCS guide. So it has, you can print it off. You don't have to sign up for it. You don't have to give me your email, nothing. You can just go. There's a tab at the top of the website. It says PCS guide. You can go there and you can download it, and you can put it in a binder. So it's got like most important, documents you might need, a pre-move checklist, a post-move checklist, like 15 tips, and then a place to record all your expenses and just different things. Because even if you've PCS'd 10 times, when you get your orders, all of a sudden a million things are going through your mind, right?
Yeah.
And you've done it a million times, but you're just crazy. There's all sorts of things going on. So it was my hope that just having it there in front of you and having it kind of outlined would let you focus on some other things and just, quickly go through the checklist. Yeah. So it's there if anyone wants it. We have a blog, and if anybody wants to submit a story to us, the blog is completely written by our military community. It's not by me. But if anybody wants to share a story, go ahead and submit it. We love to post those. And we're working on a military book of the month club as well, which I'm really excited about. Should be a lot of fun. So I really wanted it to be interactive, and I wanted everyone to feel like it was a place they could come and share.
Yeah. I like that. Especially the checklist, because it's like, no matter how many times you've done it, it's okay. Now I have to remember everything. So that sounds really, really helpful to just know exactly what you need to do. And because the doing it isn't the exact, at least for me, that's not the super hard part. It's the remembering what I need to do and keeping everything in my head straight. So I like that you have a checklist. We'll be for sure using that next time, and that we can we can contribute to what we know about our area and then hear what other people have in their areas. That's really, really smart.
Thanks.
I like that a lot. So it's just reporttobase.com. Really, really easy to remember. And thank you so much for putting that together, though.
Thanks. When we're done with all the bases we're working on now, we're going to add all the Air National Guard and Army National Guard bases. It might take us a little bit longer. They're a little bit harder to find the information about. But that is phase 2, and phase 3 is going to be all the overseas bases.
Ooh.
So we already know, we've been told that there's been some military personnel coming back from Japan that have been using the site because they've been out of the country for a while. And so now they're coming back, and the site's been helping them just kind of get acclimated again and find the information they need. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, it really makes a lot of sense because we just moved in September, and it was hard because we had no idea what we were coming into. And it was especially hard because my husband's unit was at JRTC, which is the deployment prep training that they do for like a month to 2 months or however long it is. But so everybody was gone. So we couldn't even call a sponsor or anything. But this sounds a lot like you have a sponsor. It's all the people you would want to talk to all in one place, which is way more convenient than what we were doing. That's
what I'm hoping that it allows everyone to kind of get a jump start, and not have to wait till they get there to get some of these. So, yeah. And I'm always up for suggestions too. I do have like a board of advisors made up of military personnel, spouses, and veterans that kind of help keep me on track and make sure that, the information I'm putting out there is wanted and needed. But I am always open for suggestions. So, and we have some of our favorite charities are on the website too. Everything we do, a portion of everything we do goes back to some of our favorite charities. So TAPS in honor of my father. Horses for Heroes, because my twin sister and I actually became part of that organization several years ago. And then Operation Homefront, Service Dogs, Fisher House. And then we also have recently partnered with Honor the Brave. So we're really excited about that too.
We love Honor the Brave. For the listeners, Honor the Brave is just a reminder that Xana Wolfgang. Oh my goodness. I'm struggling with my words. Wolfgang, and she did an episode a while back, and her story is amazing.
Right.
I have to say, though, just to kind of wrap it up, thank you so much for your service, not only as a military child, but everything that you're doing. This is incredible. Your charities, like there's the charities, there's the Report to Base. You are a incredible human being and very inspiring and giving. And it's an amazing example to all of us.
Thank you very much. I'm so thankful for you asking me to be on the podcast. This has been a lot of fun.
Of course. So last question we like to end with, what is your key to thriving that you would want to share with your fellow waiting warriors?
Just really live every moment. I think a lot of times we're so worried about or so focused on the future and, just what's going to happen in the future that we don't stop to take a breath and really live the moment. And I think sometimes we miss stuff because we're just so focused on the future. And, just for instance, watching my kids grow up, it's going way too fast. Yeah. And so my oldest just turned 23 a few days ago. So my youngest is going to be 15 next Friday. And it's just going way too fast. And I wish if I could go back in time, I would have just really sat with my dad and just absorbed those moments instead of always worrying about what we were going to do the next day or the next week or the next month.
It has me on just thinking about like our family and how we can do that better, because I think that's especially easy to do and get lost in as a military family or a law enforcement family or firefighter family, all of us are so busy, and we constantly have things that are not only ahead of us, but are big things. We have big trainings, we have a big move, we have just all these big things that it's easy to get lost in the preparation for those four. But I like that, just soak in those moments. So then we have something more in life than just those big events. I like that a lot. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. Again, everybody, it's reporttobase.com. Please go check it out. Use the resource, share the resource. I know it's summertime, so it is everybody's PCSing right now. So take advantage of it and share it around.
Thank you.
Okay. And all of you waiting warriors out there, you guys have a great day.
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I know I've been learning so much, so please share with any friends and family you know. Whether you know someone who is a waiting warrior, or if you just think one episode can shed some light to friends and family about what you're going through. Share. And always remember, we're stronger together, and here we can thrive. Until next time, have an awesome day.